In this video, I will attempt to find out what's wrong with me. What's wrong with this aquarium. We're gonna do a testing session for the water parameters. We're gonna do an algae risk evaluation, and I'm going to do a very short maintenance session. Whew, this was like a really tough job. Welcome to the beautiful world of aquascaping. While we were preparing to shoot this video, I was thinking about the root cause, and obviously the team members were also trying to experiment what's happening with this aquarium. Because even though the technology seems to be okay, we have some green thread algae, diatom-like or like CO2 related like in the whole aquarium. We tried to decrease the ferts. We tried to trim the plants a little bit because the plants in the back were actually obstructing the view, but we didn't succeed yet. I'm going to use the ai-scaper, which is the AI chat that lives on the bottom left corner of the Green Aqua website, and it's only available, unfortunately, for the European viewers and customers. But if you don't have that, if you live on another continent, that's okay. Just by looking at this video and following this process step by step, you can actually find the root cause. What is the main issue when you see algae in your aquarium? I'm not going to get closer to that by just listing what I did right. It's okay to know what you did right because you can eliminate that from your list, but you need to find what you missed and what's missing. So what's missing in this aquarium? There's one wood rotting in here, and I'm not going to be able to find out which one. That rot and that ammonia leach is causing the algae. The second issue, which could be actually obvious, is my plant selection, because I used a lot of stems in the back. I might consider to remove it and to replace it with like Hygrophila pinnatifida. The main idea is to have something darker, which if you want a forest look and you want a forest in the back, then you need to go with darker colors. But I don't want to speculate. I want to go step by step, test the water, and then do a short maintenance session. And as you can see, I already opened ai-scaper. Type in algae risk. This session is designed to help you identify the root cause of algae. It says that completing this evaluation takes 15 to 35 minutes. We're shooting, we're testing, so it's gonna take a little bit longer for me. There's not one way to address an aquarium. So this test is made to test your aquarium in a way that Green Aqua and many other aquascapers around the world do it. It's going to give you penalty points showing what's the issue compared to that Green Aqua and International Aquascaping benchmark. 1 penalty points equals to 1% risk of algae. So if you got like 10 points at the end, you have 10% risk of algae, which is a good news because like you have 90% of not getting algae. So if you're below 5%, you're pretty stable with your ecosystem. We do have 13 steps in this test, and we are at step 0 right now, and the algae score is 0. That's what we start with. And if I press continue, it will ask me the aquarium's volume, 243. So let's continue. It's asking me whether it's an open top tank or a closed top tank. The problem with closed top tanks is that the air above the water level will get heated up by the light that is inside the closed space, and then the aquarium is going to be heated up. Yes, we have an open tank here. You will not get any penalty points for that. How old is the layout? By the time that we release this video, is going to be more, but right now is 2 months old. 8 weeks indicates your layout is new and your biology is still cycling. So did you introduce starter bacteria during setup, or was your filter already cycled? Well, in this aquarium, we stopped the filter, we emptied the tank, and then we rebuilt it. So I would not say that the filter was cycled, and I did not for sure introduce starter bacteria. We like to live dangerously, so I will answer no. So you already have an algae score of 4%. We have 2 professional 5E filters below this aquarium. Flow rate is 1,850 liters per hour, and it has a media volume of 8 liters. And I would say that yes, this data is correct. There are things installed on the outlet hoses of these filters, which is not an issue, but it will decrease your flow rate somewhat. The filter hoses are absolutely shorter than 1.5 meters, and the distance between the top of the filter and the water surface is smaller than 2.6 meters. I will say no to this because of the equipment installed on the filter. Do we have a second filter? Yes, we do. It's the same thing. It's an external filter. The second filter's hose is shorter than 1.5 meters. Devices are also installed. So I would say no here again. Choosing two external filters is an excellent decision for an aquarium this big. Are they operating continuously? If you don't get enough oxygen for the filter bacteria, they will start to lose numbers in millions. So yes, I will specify continuous operation. To use a surface skimmer. Yes, we use a surface skimmer, and the surface skimmer is installed on the inlet hose. We need that to ensure proper gas exchange between the water and the air. The skimmer doesn't need to operate 24/7, but it does right here. The total filter flow rate is 2,960 liters. The entire volume is circulated 12 times, okay? Which is the ideal turnover rate for this is 6 times. What type of filter media do you have in that filter? Complicated question because there are many types of filter media throughout the world. We found that the highest quality filter media that we have, and again this is what we have, is the CCAM matrix. And these filters are filled with CCAM matrix. Let's establish that type 0 is the highest quality maximum efficiency filter media, so I would say type 0 in this case. And then the volume to media ratio, so volume to filter media ratio is 15, which is okay. And we have two Chihiro's lights in here, RGB Vivid 2 lights. I found that the two lights are the RGB Vivid 2 black lights, which have 12,200 lumens, quite strong. Okay, the information is correct. Distance between the light and the water surface is about 30-35 centimeters, which is okay in our case. This session is assuming that distance. But the question is the percentage, and for that I do have the Chihiro's app open, and it says that these both are going with 50% light and intensity. It's asking me whether we have CO2 injection. Yes, we do. We use a reactor underneath the right side filter. This is a question that is needed to calculate the light intensity relative to the CO2 levels in this aquarium. Okay, do you use a single continuously lighting period, or do you have siesta? Having a siesta is not a good idea. In the nature, you don't have a siesta. The sun comes up in the morning and goes down in the evening. It will go on at 9:30. Turn off at 18 because that's when the gallery closes. The fact is that the ideal lighting period is between 7 to 8 hours, so this is a little bit more than that. When you have an aquarium that is in a spot that can actually get stronger light, or worse, it can get some direct sunlight even for 10 minutes during the day, that's a big issue for algae. So I would say that it's in a dark area. Have you left your CO system unchanged in the last 4 weeks? I saw that the CO2 bubble count was too high, and I myself have decreased it in about a week ago. Drop checker is hidden. The color is actually not lime green. The CO2 does not dissolve into the aquarium uniformly. That means that the reading will be much less than in other places. Do you switch your CO2 off for the night? Yes, we do switch the CO2 off. We turn it on probably at 7. It's on the central timer, so it's absolutely 2-3 hours before. So I would say yes. Do you turn it off together with the lights? Yes, we do turn it off together with the lights. Do you add any form of liquid carbon supplements, such as green aqua carbon? Yes, we do use that. But you know what? I'm already at 10%. Water parameters. Now we're on to testing. Please enter the temperature in Celsius. I can open the cabinet, look inside, and there's a heater saying 23 degrees Celsius. My TDS meter, which is also measuring the temperature, which is out of battery. So the TDS meter, which presumably works, 22.4 actually. This thermometer says 21, and I would say 21.5. Temperatures below 20 could cause an issue. 25.5 is slightly above this value, but it's below the ideal 22-24. So it's suggesting me to use the heater. Even though we installed the heater, that does not do its job perfectly. So it's actually heating the water, so it has 23 degrees when it enters the aquarium, but the aquarium evaporation and the environment is cooling it down. So I'm not happy about the temperature of this. What is the water source? Now let's go into the water parameters. The reverse osmosis water that we use is good. Do you only use hardscape that do not alter the water parameters? No. Wood does not alter the water parameters, but the cereal stones that are using, yes. Pommy said that she does not use any remineralization because after water change the TDS is between 150 and 60, which is strange because what I measure right now is 125. This wasn't ever calibrated. It comes out of the box and I'm using it. So let's see what her device is showing us. Did you calibrate your device? Okay, so see, this is 137 already. So guys, please do calibrate your TDS meters. I have our test kit right here. And then let's start with the GH. It's getting 5 drops and I can already see that it changed color to green, right? I will say 5. Now, is within the ideal 5 to 8 range, which is TDS 120, 150. Remember? We had 140. Okay, so KH, here we go. 4, but still blue. Now we have an issue. I can already say. 5, now it's getting. Okay, so the problem is that the GH and the KH are equal. So Pommy, I've got the solution. GH 5, KH also 5. That is the problem. So what's happening is the carbonates are being leached into the water from the rocks, increasing the KH. But she didn't add any GH plus because she thought that the TDS is okay, but that created a problem. We need to increase the GH at least to 7, 2 more than KH to have the 2-point difference. See? Chemistry, not an issue. I love that we found it out. Now I'm being enthusiastic about it. I'm such a nerd. And I will enter 5 and it will immediately tell me that the range is okay, but the KH should be 2 points lower than GH. Next one, pH. Okay, so I would say the pH is 6.8. Now nitrates. I take this guy, which is difficult to open. The kid lock is working perfectly on me. Do you remember my brother? When we were small, actually, with my brother, we kind of forced, we had like a vitamin C, which was really, really tasty, but it had that because, you know, you don't want children to eat vitamin C. And we grew up in the darkest communist times in Romania, and we actually raided the kitchen and we climbed up to the highest shelf, helping each other to steal the vitamin C. And then we kind of forced it open, I think with a knife or something, because we couldn't like push it enough to like open it, and we forced it open with a knife and we sabotaged the hell out of that box, and then we ate a lot of vitamin C. We were not good kids, were we? The color is very light, so almost no nitrates. Maybe 1. Let's see the phosphate. Maybe 0.05. Okay, I want to test for silicates. Between 0.4 and 0.8. I don't like silicates in the water. Okay, let's call it 0.4. It says that the silicate level is high. In water with higher silicate content, plants may struggle to adequately absorb fertilizers, leading to nutrients primarily benefiting algae growth instead. Now I have to think of the reverse osmosis water, so I'm going to clean this and do one test for the reverse osmosis water as well. This here is reverse osmosis water from our barrel. It's the same color. See? So the silicates are coming from the tap. But in itself, it would not be a problem because all other aquariums that used with the same silicates, too high, 0.4 in the reverse osmosis system. Yeah, we deviated strongly from the regular maintenance video. Because, you know, you cannot just start maintaining and not know the root cause, because the algae is going to come back and you're going to be frustrated in 3 weeks and you're going to stop aquascaping, which is not our goal. Our goal is to fill you up with a lot of creativity, a lot of smoothness and calmness by the process itself and not frustration, right? Next question, did you avoid using chemicals to treat algae? I use chemicals. I hate this answer again. How frequently do you perform water changes in this aquarium? Weekly. What is the average percentage of water change during maintenance? 50. It's adequate. I know it is. Does the temperature of the reverse osmosis water that you pump in match the temperature of this one? Sometimes not, actually. Mostly I would say it's a bit warmer. Okay, let's not penalize ourselves for that. I could say that sometimes I felt that the water that goes into the aquarium is warmer. Do you plan to clean your filter regularly every 2-3 months? And it's asking me if I plan it because the system is new. So let's just not penalize ourselves and say yes, we plan to do that. Do you regularly clean the filter hoses to preserve filter flow? This is important and we do it. And do you rinse the filter media in used aquarium water instead of tap water to preserve bacteria? Yes, that's what we do. Do you attempt to carefully remove some of the mulm that has accumulated? I would answer yes. Do you use base layer fertilizing substrate in your tank? Yes, I remember using it. What type of soil? We use clay-based soil. Base layer fertilizing substrate, minimum thickness. Is it enough? So the base layer fertilizing substrate needs to be covered by at least 4 centimeters of general soil. If you don't do that, the nutrients will leach into the water. Have you ensured that the plant was recently removed and the large water change was performed afterwards? If a plant was removed. The problem is that if you just take the plant and just pull it out, a lot of dust and soil and base layer fertilizing substrate will go and contaminate the water completely with a lot of organics. We don't want to do that, so yeah, no such event has occurred. What is the plant mass? Guys, very dense. Healthy plants. I don't see plant health issues, guys. Did I avoid mothballs? Of course I did. I hate those guys. Do you regularly trim the plants? Yes, not me, but Pommy is kind enough to help me. What kind of fertilizers? Lean type or rich type? I think we are using the green Aqua ferts, which have nitrates and phosphates in it. So I would say the rich type, which will add a little bit to the imbalance. Do you have algae eaters in the aquarium? Of course. Would you like to calculate the total length of your fish by counting them and adding them? I'm not going to count the fish. I know that this is not overstocked. Do you stop the filter while feeding the fish? I've never seen anybody to stop the filters at Green Aqua. It's not by the book though. Don't do this at home. I know that we are feeding in a good way, so I will. Because you don't want any food, leftover food, to sink down. Congratulations, you just completed algae risk assessment. High risk category, high risk tank, high risk. Water parameters, obviously, multiple concerns exist. Layout age, you got 4 points for the layout age. At 8 weeks old, your aquarium is still cycling. The CO2 system, 4 points, because we messed with that. And this is underlining my assumption and the conclusion that I got to in the recent years. The biggest single important issue in aquariums is water. I have to admit that we committed all the noob mistakes that shouldn't be done. We used chemicals. We stopped the fertilizing. Don't do that. Find the root cause. Just take the time to do a test. Think about a structured method. These are the two problems. GH equals KH, silicates high. We need to address that. So what we do? That's the question. I have this silicate removing media, and I will divide it in two because I want to put it in both filters, both external filters. I will stop the filters, I will stop the CO2, and this needs to be changed for sure. I need to actually clean this as well. So actually the silicate EX is only a temporary solution because it also removes the phosphate next to the ammonia, which is a bad thing if you have the rich type fertilization. You don't want to remove phosphate. You can only do that if you have the lean type fertilization. And how fast does it act? It acts in a couple of hours, in a couple of days. So you could measure 0 phosphates if you have that, which will actually hurt the nitrate phosphate ratio. So you don't want to do that. So the best idea would be to install a silicate removing cartridge onto the outflow of the clean water of the reverse osmosis system. And that will remove everything which actually does not have phosphate. So it will be better for the aquarium's life in the long run. And let's open this. It primes itself because the gravity from the intake hose filled with water will take all the water from the aquarium into the external filter. I'm gonna take the second filter, take it off, and do the same thing with this one. ai-scaper here, telling you everything does not matter. You have to actually check what's happening in your aquarium. I would think that in 2 months, this filter would be absolutely pristine clear, and I have to tell you that never in my career have I seen such a clogged, such a dirty filter. So this was really overdue maintenance. So even though I did specify that regular filter maintenance was done, those are just numbers. In 2 months, it can clog. We're done with a filter cleaning session. Next step would be to trim the plants. I will start to take out everything from both sides of the aquarium. I will trim them from the bottom. This looks very brave, actually, but it's not a problem. See, this is why I don't do stem plant aquariums too much. Because although they look beautiful, they are high maintenance. Now we have to use the eHeim Rapid Cleaner. This actually is much more than one tool. It has a blade. If you remove this protector, it's like a regular algae scraper. You can actually add something like this, like a pad. It has another pad that is like flat, so you can do many things with it. This is really a handy tool to clean bigger aquariums, not for nano. As I always start cleaning the front glass, and what I need to do is to remove those little algae spots that got stuck onto the glass before I start changing the water. You don't want to scratch the glass with some sand particles being caught between the blade and the glass itself. I'm done with the front glass and I'm moving to the side glass as well, and I broke a lily pipe. So this is how you break a lily pipe. See what I did? The bottom is here. Balázs doing maintenance. Pommy! I broke the glass! When you're done, you put this back, the protector part, and then you can remove the head. You can clean the sides with this, for example. So you can actually go like that. You can actually get in behind the lily pipes. I will take my metallic brush and start to clean the wood. Do you see the dust that comes off the wood? That is rotting wood. So this is actually producing some ammonia. I can trim some algae off this guy. This is gonna float everywhere. Not only the roots, but also the other hardscape has some algae on it. New lily pipe. Don't break this one. Memo to myself. So I'm gonna take the suction hose and try to take out all the moss that I actually trimmed here. I'm getting physically rid of as much algae as I can in order to clean the system as much as I can, because that will also help with the flow and it will help with everything else. This aquarium is very dirty. I would have never thought that this can be so dirty. Seeing the mess that comes out of this wood I can actually not doubt the filter issues that we had before. We have some autos here and I will politely ask them to get out of here. Okay, I will stop the water and I will prepare the plants. This is a huge plant, check this out. And also the top is filled with algae. Actually, same issue. We just trim the top off, although the top is the more beautiful part. I will take genetics and just push it back. It will not look good in the first couple of days, but it will look great afterwards. Let's fill it up with water. This is another thing that I usually do when the aquarium is very dirty, that I push the water in and take it out at the same time. This will rinse the whole thing thoroughly out. So with the clean filter, plants trimmed so the flow is better. Water change, water parameters are going to be set back to the normal GH, so the GH will be higher, the KH will not be equal, and with getting rid physically of as much algae as possible, and with introducing the silicates into the external filters. So those 5 things, the main things, are going to contribute a lot to the stability of this aquarium. Another thing that I will do is do a blackout tomorrow morning. Make a 4-day blackout to get rid of the remainder of the algae. Whew. This was like a really tough job. I didn't expect that. I fixed many things in this aquarium. I would be very surprised if I couldn't get rid of algae. Okay, we're slowly getting to the end. I can see that there's a lot of algae in the middle. I'm going to actually remove them, and then I could use this again to get rid of the bubbles. Next step is remineralizing. I changed the water and it's 54 ppm. Usually with GH+, I remineralize it to 120. That would give me a GH around 6. If I put GH-KH, I always remineralize to 150 because of the KH. But right now, I think 120 will be okay. So let's do another measurement for the TDS to see where we pushed it to. 137 TDS, which is absolutely okay for me. 2 more things that I need to do. I will need to start the auto doser, which will add 12 milliliters of green aqua balance and green aqua carbon. And I need to reprogram the heater to 25 degrees Celsius. I don't want 25 degrees Celsius in the aquarium, but this is a smaller heater and it needs to increase the temperature of the aquarium. I will add aeration. I will obviously switch off the light for the blackout. If you're wondering how to do a blackout, we have videos explaining that as well. I will link that in the description. And you will see in 1 month how this problem was solved. I'm pretty confident that we solved it. Hopefully we did. And we'll see you then. We are here 1 month after the big testing maintenance session, and let's see what has changed in that time. I am happy to announce that everything is in order. I do see some spots of algae here and there, but that's not much. Plants started to grow. We did a big trimming on the stem plants in the background. We introduced some guppies. They're living together, and actually the color of the cichlids is matching the color of the guppies. I quite like that. Let me see what would happen if I would do the same algae risk assessment again on this aquarium. First of all, the age of the aquarium is above 3 months now. So there are no age issues. We don't get 4 penalty points because of the age. And we got 4 points because we didn't introduce starter bacteria when actually set up this aquarium. That was 2 points, plus the age was another 2 points. So that's 4 points gone. That's 0. Technology, the lighting, 2 points, 1.5 hours, still too much, okay? So that is stable. I don't think that we should be very strict about the lighting period. 30 minutes does not really matter a lot. If I want to be strict, and I will be in this video, I get 2 penalty points. For 30 minutes, I don't think that we should get 2 penalty points, but maybe I'm too kind to myself. Now about the light intensity, because I forgot to talk about that. We have an RGB light above this aquarium, the Chihiro's VV2 lights, at red 60%, green 54%, blue 45%. So it's an average of 53%. And if you actually introduce those data into the algae risk assessment, the light intensity is absolutely cool for the CO2 injected setup that we have underneath this light. Let's see about the water parameters. So what was the issue? First of all, the GH-KH balance. We didn't have that 2-point difference. KH should always be 2 points lower than GH. So I'm happy to report that by switching the remineralization of the reverse osmosis water from GH-KH to GH only, we have new GH of 5.5 instead of 5, and new KH of 3.5 instead of 5. The pH somehow has increased to 7.2 from 6.8, but that's also within the limits, so it's perfect. The nitrates didn't change, it was 1. The phosphate was 0, and that was not enough because we didn't have the nitrate phosphate difference, the difference of minimum 10, 1 to 10. So now we increased it to 0.1, so we do actually have the 1 to 10 difference there. Now about the silicates, we had an issue. It was 0.4, which was absolutely too much. What we did is we introduced silicate EX into the filter. That has reduced the silicate levels to 0, so now we don't have that issue anymore. And we also measured the iron. This is just for the record, 0.02. That is okay. The temperature was 21.5, and now it's 22.1, 22.5, depending a little bit on the ambient temperature. So 6 points originally. Now we don't have any water parameter issues in this aquarium. CO2. You know, we got 4 penalty points for the CO2 before. Now we have 0. We didn't mess with the CO2 levels. The CO2 injection is proper. We are measuring it. We are looking at the plants, the plant health, at the photosynthesis, and we're also looking at the color of the drop checker. Everything is cool about that. Now let's talk about the plants. We had 1 penalty point for that, which is still here. It is because we are dosing 14 milliliters of green aqua balance into the 240 liter aquarium, plus we are dosing 2 milliliters of green aqua phosphate PO4 to raise the phosphate levels to the 0.1 mentioned before, okay? But we still have the 1 penalty point. As about the livestock, as I mentioned before, we do not turn off the skimmer, which is like the inflow of this filter over there. We don't turn it off for the feeding because we don't want the fish to get sucked in, and we don't stop the filter. Why we don't do that? Because we have like 14 tanks, and we would be stopping and starting the filters for half an hour every day. So that's another penalty point that we need to live with. All in all, if we add these up, we have an algae score of 4 instead of 18. So we decreased it quite a bit. The algae risk assessment also says that anything between 0 and 5 is okay. I think I can live with 4% algae risk in case of this aquarium, and this whole video and this whole effort that I made to find the root cause of the algae and also the end result proves that this thing works. Chemistry is something, guys, so please think. Don't actually just, blame something, one factor because of your algae issues. Try to approach this scientifically. If you do that, success is guaranteed. This is a very, very complicated ecosystem. We're talking about live plants, we're talking about filtering bacteria, we're talking about technology that supports and artificially builds a big underwater system in our living spaces. So it needs to be approached in a very complicated way. Don't be lazy. If you're lazy, you're going to get frustrated and you're going to fight algae and you're going to do big maintenance sessions and you're going to get tired. Just do the algae risk assessment if you can. If not, just take what I said about this video, look at all the factors, what's happening with it, and try to eliminate as many things as possible. With that said, is this the only way of addressing algae issues? Not at all, but this is a way that actually has been working for us and has been working many for our customers throughout Europe and for many aquascapers in the world. So I hope that you find this video useful. We have a couple of tutorials about dosing and about everything else. You will find that right here next to me. That's a full playlist of tutorial videos. Check them out if you want to learn more about aquascaping, about maintaining a beautiful algae-free aquarium. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.